Greetings, Haunt fans. It's Moon Boy and
Lava Girl.
Lava Girl. This is not Shark Boy Lava Girl. This is Moon Boy and like Mrs. Moon Boy
Oh, okay.
or something, right?
I really like Lava Girl.
I don't know if Lava Girl. No, that's a little bit. I don't like that. That's too childish.
I think I just made fun of Moon Boy very much.
You gotta pick a different name.
Okay. Mrs. Moon Girl.
No.
Mrs. Moon Boy. That sounds even worse.
So pick something better.
Orange juice and vodka.
Okay, it's Moon Boy in orange juice and vodka. Okay, so Moon Boy and Screwdriver. We just watched the bootleg version of Truth or Dare, the Netflix version, not the one that has the kid from Teen Wolf or the girl from
Pretty Little Liars.
Pretty Little Liars. This one.
Which I saw that one. I saw the one with the Teen Wolf guy and the Pretty Little Liars girl, but I don't think
I did.
you watched it with
I don't
me,
think
which
I did.
is weird.
Which is strange because I typically watch a whole lot more horror movies than you do. But
I watched it by myself. You must have been at Halloween Horror Nights or something without me.
it's possible. It's possible. But this one wasn't so bad.
No, it wasn't. I thought this one was actually better than the original.
Did you?
Yeah. I mean, the other one was better because it had bigger name actors. You know what I mean? So I think more people would see
So they're
it.
both better.
No, I'm saying the other one would have been better because of the bigger name actors. It'll be at the theater. It'll get more money and stuff like that. I don't think this movie will do that because it's a Netflix movie. But I think this Netflix movie was better to watch.
Well, I don't
Although
care.
there was some parts I didn't really want to watch.
I don't care about the money. I'm not making that money.
Right.
All I care about is if it's a cool movie.
Yeah.
Which one's cooler?
It's hard because I haven't seen the other one in like a couple weeks, you know, or like a month or whatever. So it's hard for me to say, but I would say probably this one is cooler.
Okay.
But I don't know if that's just because I watched it tonight or not.
So I think that even though I haven't seen the other one, this one is probably cooler because I don't have to look at that kid's face from Teen Wolf.
Yeah.
He's got that crooked smile, like, you know, whatever.
But she's not Teen Wolf.
Not because of him.
Oh. For the styles.
Everyone else.
Yeah.
Like everyone other than that kid.
Yeah.
They don't have crooked faces. I need symmetry in my
You
life.
didn't even know he had a crooked face for like
No, I did.
the whole time? I don't think you did. I think it was when Styles pointed it out one time.
No, I pointed it out, and you were like, I can't stop seeing it now. And I
Yeah.
ruined the show for you. But anyway.
Sorry.
Yeah, this show was alright. This
liked
movie
it.
was alright. So it's
I want to be
kind of
careful not to spoil it. 'Cause I don't know.
right.
if,
We'll do a spoiler section at the end,
Okay.
but it was basically let's read the synopsis says. 8 college friends head to a haunted rental like an Airbnb, but it's like spookyrentals.com.
Right.
For Halloween. But when they replay the game that made the house infamous, they awaken an evil spirit intent on stealing their souls. Now, I don't know if they were really intent on stealing their souls, but they were certainly intent on killing everybody.
Yes.
I don't think it cared.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think they just wanted to kill everybody.
And you know, I'm down with that. That's fine. I don't need any sort of like deeper level than that.
Can I
But
just say something really fast? Like, I thought that this movie was like a rip-off of the other movie, but it seems like the opposite is true because the other movie came out in 2018. This one was 2017.
I think that that's a game that they play with those straight DVD movies, though. Like when like Armageddon came out, you saw like Asteroid come out in Walmart like 3 months before Armageddon
That's
hit
true.
theaters.
That's
So
true.
it's one of those, you know, where they hear about a movie being made and they just make a lower budget one quicker.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense.
That's my feeling. I don't know if that's the case,
Right.
but I think that's what happened there. But it wasn't. It didn't read like a straight DVD bin
No, it
type
didn't.
movie. Like it wasn't really shitty.
No.
It still had decent production value.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think I knew a single actor in the whole show.
I usually prefer that in a horror movie.
Oh, the one chick that they go to meet later, the older chick.
Oh yeah, so they met the original survivor of the first Truth or Dare
Yep.
game, and that was Nancy from the Nightmare on Elm Street series, and she had a burnt face, so it was kind of like an homage to the Nightmare series, where you know Freddy's got the burnt face, she has the burnt face. So I liked that. I was like, ooh, you know, that's a
Right.
throwback. I did like that a lot because you know I like her as an actress, and I like that she's getting some work.
Yeah, and she was the only actress out of the whole movie. I think we knew anybody, right?
Right.
Like,
Yeah. Everyone else was just unknown.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm sure that as we watch more crappy horror movies, we'll probably see these people
Oh, yeah.
more often. But I mean, this is kind of like a breakout film for these guys. I'm assuming because it did have a budget. It
Although,
wasn't really
you know,
crappy.
the one chick at the beginning that died. Sorry, we're gonna do spoilers, but
No, we're not. But what's her name?
we're not gonna do spoilers.
So there's a girl who died at the beginning. That's ambiguous.
Not in the very beginning, but early in the movie, the girl that died, she was well known. She just walked out of the house and like just ran, and she like
Was she well known?
yeah.
From what?
I don't know, but I've seen her before on something. I don't think she was well known, but she was known from something.
I think she looks like a different actress, like an older
Think
actress.
so?
I think that she's like a sister or something, but she's not. I don't know her. She reminded me
You
of
should
somebody
scroll
else.
down and see if you can find her.
Let's see.
Because to me, it seemed like she was familiar.
This girl? Nope,
No.
not that girl.
And what's funny is that she was the first one to die. I don't know. Oh, he was also familiar to me. But he was familiar to me because another actress I follow, like pastes him into her pictures. Not doesn't paste him, but like takes pictures of him with him. But I've never seen him in anything else.
That girl?
No, but that girl. Now I recognize her.
I think that's the girl that you're talking about.
Mm. Yeah, maybe it is.
It is.
It is.
So I mean,
Yeah, she's
not,
been on a lot of crap.
she's not really in anything.
Yeah, but
she's
been
like
in
in Power Rangers
right.
Megaforce.
But you know, I have
not the
two
movie.
young daughters. I have a daughter who loves Power Rangers, and I've definitely seen her there. That's exactly what it is Power Rangers for sure.
Maybe.
It is. For sure.
But I mean, man, these movies she's been in, like Shark Proof, Toxic Shark, Starfish. I mean, these are not
She's
big
been in
movies.
SWAT. That's a big movie. She's been in one
It's a
episode of
TV
that.
series. Is that that's not even a big TV series. What are you talking about? No.
It is if you watch it.
Okay. No, she was basically in Power Rangers Megaforce, which is not even like the original Power Rangers or even like Power Rangers
Yeah, but our daughter watches a lot
Ultra
of Power
or
Rangers, so
whatever.
that's where I've seen her.
Maybe.
Makes sense. Makes sense.
It'd be sick.
So she's not as well known as I thought.
She's not well known.
Can you see if we're still being taped on your phone?
Yeah, I can. That light's blinking. We're being taped. You can see the counter. It's good.
Hi.
Anyway, so yeah, not a lot of known actors except for Nancy from Nightmare on Elm Street,
Yeah.
which I appreciate because I don't want to like be taken out of the story because
Right.
I recognize someone.
Right.
So I really do prefer like a lesser known cast.
As long as they're not horrible actors, though. Cause
Yeah, I mean, there's plenty of good actors that just
Right.
aren't known yet.
Right.
So
I can't stand when you see, okay, we don't know anybody in this movie, and then it starts playing, and you're like, are you really, like, what you just said, that's acting? Like, could you just go back to school? That makes me nuts. So there's an in-between, because I also like not knowing people,
okay.
but I don't like not knowing people and being like, come on, get a
Okay.
job.
So before we get into spoilers, how would you rate this? How many moons out of 10 do you give this?
I'm gonna give it 7.
7 moons?
Because I liked it a lot, but I think an 8 would put it way over the top. And a 9, 10, like a 9 and a 10, I think would be like my big time movies. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
so I would say a 7 for this one.
I kind of agree. Seven is it's respectable. It's a you should watch it,
Yeah.
especially at the price point because it's free.
Free.
If you have Netflix.
Right.
But I mean, it's not the best. It's not like Alien,
No.
like Nightmare on Elm Street or anything like
Right.
that. But it's still pretty good. It's a very familiar type story. Like we have seen very similar storylines before, but
Right.
it wasn't bad. Some of the kills were pretty cool.
Some of the kills, yes, they were actually really cool. There was a lot of moments that I couldn't moments I had to turn it around and look away. Like I had to literally take the blanket and like cover my eyes. And I don't often do that in this type of movie. I really don't.
I think
He doesn't ever, not ever. But
I'm dead inside.
he is.
But I think that if you had watched, you wouldn't have been as grossed out as if you were just using your imagination,
And you're probably right.
right?
But
I mean, the sound effects are probably better than the visuals,
right.
but I mean, the special effects weren't bad. So the practical effects were all good, on point. I'd probably give it a 7 as well. So it's definitely a watch, especially
sure.
if you have Netflix. Watch it.
Yeah, it's a good movie.
It's not too long. I think it's like an hour and a half or something. It's not bad. It doesn't drag on. It's got good pacing.
Yep. And it starts off quick. It's not.
Yeah,
like a
it
slow
doesn't
movie.
it doesn't require any sort of like long exposition. Like let's do 50 minutes of storyline. Like, dear God, Mandy. If you like Mandy, the freaking Nicolas Cage movie,
I don't think I've seen it.
you hated it.
I've seen it.
That Nicolas Cage movie on Shudder
Oh my god.
with all the shitty filters.
I don't think did I watch the whole thing?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I tried to go to bed.
You try to go to bed.
I tried to go to bed. I said, you know what? I'm just gonna go to bed. And he got all pissed at me because I wanted to watch that movie. It was the worst movie I've ever seen in my entire life. Absolute worst.
It was bad.
And
But
he got mad at me because I wanted to go to bed. And he got
I
mad
mean,
at me.
if I have to suffer through something, she's got to suffer with me.
No, he got mad at me. I was ready to kill him. I mean,
The-
it brought like the tensions up in our house.
The fine folks at Dread Central, they did a review on Mandy, and they just gushed over this movie. These people, who I like to listen to, they got a podcast and such. They review horror movies, and they were like, "Oh, this is such a great movie! It's so fantastic!" Yada yada yada. And I watched this movie. I actually listened to their review after I watched it, and I was like, "What the fuck were they smoking?" Like, I don't know, because they were seeing something completely different than me, and
Well,
it was horrible.
It was everything. I mean, just the colors of everything. It was just like oh god.
So
it was all
the
awful.
only thing that made it interesting was those filters and shit like that.
Right, but even that.
if
was
you took
like-
that away, the movie is dog
Right,
shit.
right.
Like, the first hour of the movie, literally nothing happens.
Right.
And then, like, an hour in, you get the cage rage for like 5-10 minutes, where Nicolas Cage goes crazy for a second, and they go back to like nothing
Yep.
for half an hour, and then like the last 10 minutes is cage rage again, and they just start doing like interesting kills and stuff like that. But then at the end of that movie, he just like winds up driving into outer space.
Yeah.
Like, what
What
the
the-
hell was that?
Right.
What was that? It was nonsense. Complete nonsense.
Absolute nonsense.
This movie was not nonsense.
No, it wasn't.
It was just.
This movie was very good compared to that.
It was just
very
ni-
good.
It was
like,
nice traditional horror, a teenage slasher flick
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Like I would have given Mandy like a 1.
I would have given Mandy a -7.
But you can give less than 1, then I would
I
give it a
can
negative
because
20.
I'm the boss. But yes, -7. But this one is a +7
Yeah.
because it followed like your traditional lines. You knew what to expect. It did it well, and it did it on not a big budget, but
Right.
it still looked like a bigger budget film.
Yeah, oh, yeah. I agree for sure.
They didn't do really crap like CGI or
Right.
anything like that.
No.
They
me
used a
too.
lot of like I think all of it was
Props.
practical effects and props
Right.
and stuff, which I prefer.
Yeah. There's a
Um,
lot of blood, a lot of cutting things off, a lot of things like that.
Yeah.
That left a lot of blood. A lot of blood. I think more so than there would have been in real life.
Okay.
But that's fine too. I mean, it's a movie.
So spoilers.
Okay, we're going to spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert.
So if you haven't seen the movie yet, close the video.
Just pause the video, watch the movie, and continue playing after the movie. Don't
That's right.
don't close it. So kills. Well, not even kills, but how they handled playing the Truth or Dare game. Like you mentioned partway through the movie that you liked how they were handling it because normally in a movie you would just say, well, to hell with this, just leave the house.
Right.
Right?
Absolutely.
Just
Which
leave the
nobody
house.
ever does, which drives me nuts.
Right. They tried to leave the house, and some spooky supernatural stuff happened where
The doors would lock,
the
the
doors all
windows were
closed, so they
closed.
locked, and like they tried to break the windows, and when they tried to break the windows, like they were repelled as
They
there
tried
was,
to shoot the windows and nothing would happen. I mean,
I don't know if they threw stuff at the windows.
they did, but I thought they later tried to shoot at the
No,
windows.
but the windows had like boards just like fly up
right,
and
like it was being locked.
board up against the windows,
Right.
which was neat because it really told you, they're not getting out until they finish playing this round of
Right.
Truth or Dare.
And that was another thing I said all the time. I'm like, whenever we see a movie like this, my first thought is always, just leave the house.
Yeah.
Just leave the house. And a lot of times, they do cover it, but most times they don't.
Yeah.
So I was happy that they had that, magical thing that would just fly. I mean, seriously, the wood that flew up on the outside of the windows and boarded it up was crazy. They'd go into one room and they could not leave that room. They would be fighting one door and like kicking it and hitting it and punching it and shooting it and everything else. Not really shooting it. Everything else trying to get through, and they couldn't because it was like a magical force that was keeping them in. So I thought that was good.
Yeah, and then like if the bet or like the dare required them to go into a different room, like the kitchen, that door would open
Right.
and they could go into that room.
Right.
And so, kind of like the tagline in the movie was, "Do the bet, or the bet does you,"
Yeah.
which was neat because the very first bet they did was, put your hand on a hot
Yeah.
stove, and the guy's like, "Screw that," and they've got a timeline. It was like 2 minutes.
2 minutes.
He said no, hell with that, and then something wound up happening where he was forced to like fall into the stove and put his hand down.
And
And then
the burner was turned on.
the
like,
burner
magically.
got turned on.
You know what I mean? That it was just,
supernaturally.
And they showed it. Come on, yeah.
I don't know about magically, but supernaturally.
Well, right. So supernaturally or whatever, but a lot of times stuff like that is just not shown or whatever.
Right. So it was very much. It was kind of like a modified Final Destination,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because Final Destination had a lot of those elements
That's
where
true.
things would happen coincidentally,
Right.
right? So like the
That's
oven,
true.
the oven
You're
would
right
turn
about
on
that. Yep.
and whatnot, and I like that because that's
I
one of my
love
favorite
that. I
series.
love that
That's
movie
one of my favorite
too. I
series
love
as far as
those.
the horror movies goes.
I've seen them all, I think.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
saw
I love
the
all
last
those
one in the
movies.
theater. So.
Yeah, I love all those movies.
But it was very much like a Final Destination meets Truth or Dare. There was only like one truth, and I thought it was kind of bogus. Like, who cares? But no one got to pick Truth or Dare. So like
Nobody.
in the game,
Right. That's what
you would
one
normally
thing.
say Truth or Dare, and then
Right.
someone would say Truth, and they would have to like
You didn't
reveal
pick that
something crappy.
option anymore.
But like, it was just somebody's turn, no matter what, and like
This is what you got.
it was written on a piece of paper, or it was written on the wall, or it was
on the TV.
written. It was on the TV. It was just written somewhere
Oh,
that hey,
the one guy was on the computer doing something and hit next,
yeah,
and it was on the screen.
and it was like hey,
nobody
go
could
hang
avoid it.
yourself or something like that, right?
Right.
So you've got these things that are just telling you to do these dares, and it's not really truth or dare at that point, except for that one truth. And I think they only threw that in there because they had to call it truth or dare, so they had to put a truth in.
So that was the first truth, you mean?
Yeah, that the only truth that was in the
Yeah,
whole
that's
movie,
true.
right? And it was just like a non-event. It was just like, oh, did you sleep with this person? Who cares?
Yeah, so that you're right, because I remember when that came out, Did You Sleep with Him? I remember thinking that came out very early in the movie, but
Yeah.
then I realized nope, it didn't, because they're going fucking hardcore
Yeah.
after that. So for sure, like
So yeah,
they
that
went
was like
hardcore after that.
that was probably the first thing.
It was.
Yeah. And it just didn't really matter in the grand scheme of things.
Because that way they were like, who wrote this card? Because they had everybody write down cards of truths and dares, and all put them on a table and mix them up.
Yeah.
So when she got a truth, nobody at the table had written it, but she didn't realize that. And somebody had said, "What was it? Did you sleep with Tyler?"
Yeah.
And she's like, "What the fuck? I'm not playing this." Like puts it away, and anyway, she ends up having to answer that question, and nobody's like, "We did not write it."
Yeah, she lied. She's like, "No, I didn't sleep with this guy," and then everyone gets a text, "Liar." Right. So there's that kind of, I Know What You Did Last Summer meets Final Destination. Right.
It's true.
So I mean, it was good, especially like as a teenage flick, morality film kind of thing. I like those. Those are classic. It's a good popcorn movie, I don't like those heavy-handed, like high art Mandy films. Those suck. But this one was all right. What was your favorite kill?
Gosh, there's so. I mean, the one who was hung in his so they got to leave the house for a little while, and they all went back to their dorm rooms, and they all had like a little bit of a break between round 1 and round 2. They went to the hospital and everything else. So at that point, they were all just in their rooms, and one guy was in his room by himself, and he got a thing on his computer that said "hang yourself."
No, it was like on his wall. Like he was.
Oh yeah.
He's the guy who like filmed stuff.
Right.
He was trying to like be a blogger, like
That's
a viral video.
That's
type
right.
thing.
So he saw his video was like moving around. He's like, "What the hell?" So he watched the phone to see what the video was doing, and it showed somebody in his bed, which was the girl that died earlier in the show.
Yeah.
And she was the only one that had died at that point in round 1. So she was the one that died. So he was like watching her. She was all bloody and covered and coming out, and he had to hang himself, which I thought was crazy. And I don't.
It was a girl that he was in love with.
Yeah.
And she
But
says into the camera.
She didn't know it. So
yeah, but she's dead now, and
right.
she says into the camera, "How long have you been in love with me?"
Right.
And he's like, and then so he's looking at the actual scene, and then he looks back at the camera and he sees her only on the camera, and he keeps looking back and forth, and then she starts writing on the wall. She's writing something, but you can't see. Like she's in the camera, you can see her writing on the wall, but you don't know what she's saying.
Right.
But when he looks back at the wall and not seeing her, he sees like in blood, hang yourself. And then she says, you've got
2 minutes.
You have to hang yourself for 2 minutes, and you can beat this, yada yada.
Right. But the problem is that he could have, if somebody would have been in there to help him kind of cut him down. So he starts screaming, going crazy. All the other people that are close by get like a text that show the video of him like hanging.
Yeah.
So they're all running, and they're all like, there's 4 of them outside his window or outside his room trying to bust through the door. And they're trying to get in, but the door was locked. So by the time they got in, it was too late. He was dead. Which,
I think they got in at exactly 2 minutes.
Right.
So.
Which is fine, but at the same time, I think in the movie he was dead, but I feel like in real life he wouldn't have been dead, but
right.
I feel like he was
So
dead.
I think that was a bogus scene because one of the characters is like a doctor slash medic or something like that, right? He's at least in medical school, and they made a point to say that, right? So this kid, instead of like lifting the guy up, because he was watching him hang on this phone, instead of lifting him up and like getting him out of the noose and doing like CPR, I mean the brain can survive 10 minutes without oxygen. So instead of doing anything to help him, he just kind of stands there and just like, oh, he's dead.
Right.
Just accepts it.
Which I
didn't like that.
I didn't either, because I agree that in real life he absolutely would have been alive. However, because he didn't break his neck.
Yeah, they didn't break his neck.
They didn't break his neck.
Hung him.
So He absolutely could have saved him, but I feel like in the movie he was dead. You know what I mean?
Well, of course.
So that's just all there is to it. But I absolutely agree with you. I feel like he could have been saved for sure. He was hung for 2 minutes.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, he could have been saved for sure. But they didn't save him. So who else died? What was your favorite death? You can't pick that one because I already picked that one.
I don't know if I have a favorite death.
What about the guy getting run over?
The guy getting run over was interesting. Like, there was a bet where they said, you know, basically get run over by a car, and I'm like, just run my legs over, run my feet over, whatever. Because when I was
the problem is they couldn't get the car to start.
yeah, when I was younger, my brother ran my feet over
Right.
with my own car
Right.
in the high school parking lot. Like, it was a thing.
Right.
And you know, technically you're getting run over.
Right.
And he tried that, and
tried that.
it
They
didn't
wouldn't
work.
let- they
The
wouldn't let
car
the car
wouldn't start. So he gets in front of the car, like opens up the hood, and suddenly it starts up and just starts driving on its own, like Christine. Right?
You know, the crazy thing is, and I'm sure we've mentioned this before, but they give you a certain number of minutes for each thing. So it'll be like 2 minutes, 9 minutes, 7 minutes. Like everything has its different number of minutes. But one of the things that they do is, when the minutes are up, it comes after you,
The
like
bet does
instantly.
you.
It does not matter if you are trying to do it. It does. They don't care.
Yeah.
It's like you tried for 2 minutes, you failed. Now we're going to freaking kill you, and they
Right.
do. I mean, it's serious.
So
serious.
I thought that not many of the deaths were too interesting to me. I liked
That's why I picked the hanging, because that's
I
not
liked
necessarily an interesting death
more
for me
more
either,
interesting, like, was the things that people had to do instead of dying, like
but- Oh, I
the
agree.
eating of like the burnt flesh.
Yeah, I think that would have been the best one.
So like in the beginning, this medic guy, he puts his hand on the stove accidentally, and his hand is stuck to it. Right? He's like, ah! He's screaming. He takes his hand off, and it peels away a lot of skin, and you can see like the skin on the burner. And then like the next bet is for this girl to eat his burnt flesh, and
Like off of the stove.
I'm like, that's awesome.
I know. I think that would be delicious.
I wouldn't have any problem with that. Like, okay,
Right.
you know, that's not much of a horrible thing to do. Like, I like meat.
Yeah, I think that would have been okay too, except for that it was like it didn't even look burnt, which seemed odd to me.
It
but-
kind of looked like prosciutto,
right, but I think it would have been more
but
burnt.
prosciutto's
but
delicious anyway. So I would have eaten it
I think I
and
would
been
have
like,
been
okay, I'm not dying, so
right.
great.
I feel like I would have been grossed out by that, but I would have been okay with it. You know what I mean? That was the easiest one for me, obviously.
For sure. And I thought that was like really an interesting type of thing. And then like where they had to chop off different parts of their bodies, like, or like they were like ripping out fingernails and cutting off fingers and toes and feet and stuff.
So
That
I-
was interesting.
Yeah, and I will say that a lot of that stuff is a lot more interesting than the stuff in the other Truth or Dare movie. So we'll have to go back and watch that movie.
The Lucy Hale movie.
Yeah, we'll have to go back and watch that and see if that, because
I mean, Lucy Hale's pretty hot, but
she is, but Tyler is not. But
yeah. I don't know. I don't know if I have any interest in seeing it because I think I saw it, but it was just so uneventful that I
I
just
think
forgot
if you would
everything
have
about
seen it, you would have been thinking about that the whole time. You know what I mean? Like I do.
Maybe.
But that's all I was thinking about through the whole movie. So
But at the end, they kind of left us with
Yeah,
a
so that
big
was-
cliffhanger.
to me, that was the most interesting death because we don't know who died, which is really irritating. We're
So-
sure it was the white girl that died, right?
I think so.
Because you could hear somebody's going, like taking a breath at the end, but it was credits.
Right.
So we think the black girl lived.
So at the end, there's two girls. One of them is going to be a final girl. It wasn't the one that I thought. You
No,
know,
she
I
died
thought
before
I thought the
those
final
two.
girl was going to be someone completely different.
But we actually saw her die, so we know it was
yeah,
not
we
her.
know she died. And at the end, they were like, "Well, here's the dare. You know, you got to crash your car or something, right?"
Kill her.
Yeah.
It said kill her.
Kill her or something like that,
It said
right.
Kill her.
So they're both driving around this car, and neither one of them were wearing seatbelts.
They're trying to get the black girl to the hospital because she had lost her foot.
Well, lost.
Right.
They cut
she
her
had,
foot off.
Right.
Yeah.
The rest of them, they had cut off, like, so can we tell them about the sharing part? Like, they could share the bets.
So
and
if you had a bet or a dare that says, drink this glass of poison, right? You could share that bet with everyone at the party and say, everyone drink like one swig and then it will be gone and we won't get poisoned
we
because
won't die.
it's only a little bit,
We're all doing it.
right? And then you can puke or whatever afterwards.
Right.
You just have to technically drink it.
Right.
Right.
Well, so at the end, they had the share of the loss of limbs, which there was only 2 of them left.
Right.
So the 2 of them left had to keep cutting each other's off, but you can only, like, they started to cut off, like, take out eyelashes and eyebrows and hair and stuff like that, and they came and said, it's got to be a living piece of you. So they had to go back and do more.
Yeah.
So they had to do a toe, a finger, a foot. So the one girl lost her foot.
Yeah.
And they were, like, afterwards trying to rush her to the hospital. So the other girl was driving. It was just a nightmare. It was a nightmare.
Yeah, so they're driving, and then, like, the radio says kill her, and she's like, okay, whatever, and she just starts driving straight for a tree at like 100 miles an hour. And neither one of them wearing seatbelts, and I was like, somebody better put a seatbelt on.
Right.
Right? I'm like, that's how you win. You
Right.
put your seatbelt on, whatever. But they didn't, and you heard the car crash, and then the credits, and then you hear like a gasp of one of the girls.
Right.
And kind of like kind of a moan. And it sounded like,
Right.
not the white girl, but we don't know. And we'll
Right.
probably know if they make a sequel in another
Right.
year or so. Because this seems like it could be a franchise movie.
Oh, I agree.
I mean, it's easily, it was made last year, and they usually take 2 years to do those types of things. And I can't believe that this cost any money to make.
No.
It might have cost $1 million, if that,
Right.
and that's nothing in the scheme of movies. And if you're getting that Netflix money, no big
Right.
deal.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that pretty much wraps it up. I mean, we covered from start to finish,
Did we?
pretty much.
Maybe.
We got the ending at least.
We did.
Yeah.
We got that covered.
We got a rating,
We got our rating.
and we said it was better than the other Truth or Dare.
Oh, yeah. I think so, but I could be wrong.
You could be, because I don't remember the other one.
But I do think so.
But yeah,
That's why I want you now to watch the new one and see.
we'll see. We'll see.
He
So
never does. Never listens to me.
yeah, that's it. So if you like this movie, if you've seen it, let us know in the comments below.
Please do.
If you hate this movie, let us know
Please do.
in the comments below. And if you're not already subscribed,
Subscribe.
subscribe and hit the,
I don't even think I'm subscribed to this channel.
yeah, what the hell? Hit the like button. Let us know that you liked it. And that's it. Thanks for watching.
Bye.
The end. I think.
Nope, it's still going. Hi.
Is this camera off?
Okay, bye.